Welcome, everyone, to the Best of Markham podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from FitnessSolutionsPlus.ca, your personal trainers for chronic conditions. Here with me today is Nadeem Jiwani from Float Valley. Nadeem, thank you so much for being here and tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me. I'm the owner, as you mentioned, I'm the owner of Float Valley here in Markham. We're a wellness center. We've been here for about 7 years. We focus on float therapy, so the sensory deprivation tanks. And we also have fire and ice, which is the sauna, ice baths. And most recently, we put in something called the energy enhancement system, which is a type of frequency therapy. And so we've been running for, like I said, 7 years. And we kind of, our goal here is to basically transform the way people live and operate their lives, help them optimize their well-being, and also help them with things like that come up, like pain,
Yeah,
stress, sleep issues.
yeah. Now, obviously I've been to Float Valley a few times before, so I know what this stuff is. But for viewers and listeners who don't know what sensory deprivation is, let's elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically we've got these, they're called float tanks. They're like 10 feet long by 4 feet wide. There are 10 inches of water in there, and there's 800 pounds of Epsom salts in the water. So it's super, super dense salt water. So when you lay back into the water, it's like you're laying in a bed. It's a bed that's floating you. If you've heard of the Dead Sea, it's kind of like that concept. It's a really high salinity environment. The air and the water are heated to the same temperature as your body. And so once you get comfortable in the water and you lay still, the air, the water, and your body all become one temperature. And so you don't feel your body at all. We have an enclosure that is completely light proof and soundproof. So you don't see anything, you don't hear anything, you don't feel anything, and you go into a super deep state of relaxation or meditation. And people also know it's also known as like a theta brainwave state. And as you're about to fall asleep at night, people fall into this state just before they actually do fall asleep. And it's a very pleasant state to be in. It's really nice for creativity, for coming up with ideas, for deep relaxation, but at the same time, also introspection.
Yeah.
And so we get to spend a whole hour in there in the float tank. And sometimes it's very meditative. Sometimes you kind of like just fall asleep. It's different based on what your body needs at any given day.
Cool. And that's your original service because I remember when you first opened in 2018 when I came to check you guys out. I believe at the time that's all you had.
That's all.
Um, yeah,
That's
and now you
correct.
expanded to so much more. You have the neurovisor, the energy enhancement. I don't remember what it's called, but that thing I did a couple months ago, the one person sauna. Um,
The ozone sauna.
Ozone sauna. Yes, that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So now you have a whole bunch of stuff for wellness, human optimization, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we started with the float tanks, and then it opened us up to a whole other world of all these biohacking technologies.
Yeah, cool stuff. How did you first get to be the owner and founder of Float Valley?
I guess my journey started when I was in university. I was really passionate about consciousness exploration, and so I
What was your undergrad?
my undergrad was it started off in computer science, so
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
working on the computers, and
Yeah,
then you realize that us humans, we're kind of like a computer,
yeah.
and we're if figuring out our computer is a lot more complex and more interesting to me, and so I changed my degree to psychology, and then I
Okay,
added business and economics as well.
okay,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, a couple of different areas, and through that time is where I actually found floating. A friend of mine kind of knew that I was into like exploring different altered states, I guess, and he was like, you should go and try out the float tank. You're gonna love it. And so I tried it, and my first experience with it, I came out of the tank, and it was the first time I didn't go and grab my phone. And I had been, since I had a cell phone, it was just such a common habit for me to just pick up my phone and check my messages at any given point. And it was the first time that I didn't do that ever. And it felt really weird. And I was like, oh, okay, this actually feels really good. And then that was what got me to come back for my second float. And when I had my second session, I read really, really deep. And then after that, I got super into floating. And so there was a guy that had a float tank in his basement in Waterloo. I was studying at University of Waterloo, and he had it for something like 20 years. So I went over to his house. I paid him like $40, and he let me float for as long as I wanted. And sometimes I do 2 hour floats, sometimes I do 4 hour floats. I come out and had wild experiences, dreams, vivid different states in there, and it's all from nothing. Literally, the act of being in nothingness allows you to explore so much of your own psyche and get really deep and see what's kind of within rather than exploring the outer world. And so that really had me fascinated. And so the floating is what really brought me towards the whole biohacking sphere. I wasn't really into all of the practice I'm now, like yoga, breath work, meditation. Those were things like my mom did, and she was interested in it, but it was never like, I was like, okay, whatever. But then float tanks is what brought me into that. And slowly after we opened, I started getting into a bunch of things. I started going to yoga studios, and so we brought yoga in here. My sister got trained in breath work, so she started teaching breath work, and then the other technologies, the sauna, the ice bath, and then we just kept adding stuff. And so now we have a fully fledged wellness center.
So how did you go from just like you're trying this this float tank in your friend's home and
Yeah.
to go, I want to run this as a business.
Yeah, so I guess it was when I was floating with this guy, he basically told me he's like, there's a float center opening, like an official commercial space. You should apply for a job. So I did, and I got to be their first and only employee for the first year. So I helped them open up the space, and they kind of taught me everything about how to run a float business. And I realized through that process, I saw a lot of massive transformations in people. For myself, it was like relaxation and mental health, but for others, it was also physical health. Like someone had come out of a car accident and they could barely bend over. They went in the float tank for an hour and they came out and now they were touching their toes. So I was like, kind of blown away by seeing these really miraculous things happen while I was sitting at the front desk.
Yeah.
And so I told my dad, and my dad's business minded. He's a businessman, and I been doing like business plans when I was in school. Like I took business in university, and so the idea of opening a business started to kind of like form because I'm like, wow, this is a really good product, really good service. People are seeing a lot of benefits. Maybe this is something I should explore. And so my dad kind of encouraged that. And basically, right after I got out of school, we started working on a business plan. And I think 7 months after I graduated, we were opening.
Wow. What
Yeah,
what an interesting journey. And I guess first of all, it helps to have a dad like yours who's a business person, but also to have done your undergrad in business economics. Uh,
absolutely.
because I mean, I'm a kinesiology grad.
Okay.
I did not feel when I was first starting my business, I did not feel prepared at all for business. I thought mistakenly that being a good trainer is good enough to get more clients. It's necessary, but not enough. People have to
Mhm.
know you're a good trainer, which requires marketing. Um, and
Absolutely.
they definitely don't teach marketing in kinesiology. Understandably so, because very few kinesiology grads go into entrepreneurship, so I don't fault them for it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it helps to have had that background and that family like atmosphere.
Yeah, I think honestly, the mentorship from my dad was probably the most important piece. Like, even though I did take business in school, very little of the concepts actually, really carried over. There's a lot of things that change very fast in business, I think, and a lot of concepts that we learn in school can quickly become redundant.
Yeah.
And so coming out of school, I didn't really feel that confident. Getting thrown into the business and just starting and just exploring and learning marketing and just kind of like trying everything is what allowed me to actually learn. I feel it was really, I just had to experience it and just kind of get thrown headfirst in,
Yeah, totally. I mean,
and then have a mentor that can be like, yeah, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should look in this direction, or this is what you do when you're at the crossroads here. And that was incredibly helpful.
oh yeah, cuts down your learning curve so much.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
friends who went to Schulich, and what the business they teach in big schools is like big corporate business, not here's how you thrive as a small business.
Yeah.
There's a world of difference between running a small business and getting into a like an IBM or a Microsoft or an Apple that's already well established, and you're just like a little piece in the whole thing.
Totally, totally. Yeah, and it's a really it was a really interesting process, at least learning all the different facets, kind of from the ground up, the marketing and the finances, and just kind of like the admin and seeing all the different parts and how they kind of come together and the systems that you have to build around them. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I'm so passionate about it. I love it.
Absolutely. I mean, small business is a lot of fun. It's a lot of testing, experimentation, a lot of failure, but there's the occasional
Yes,
success which should keep us going forward.
absolutely, absolutely.
Since you do have that traditional business background and you're also a small business owner, you get to see both sides of things, like what they teach in school versus here's how it works in real life. What have you
Mhm.
seen the biggest differences?
Um, I think for me, I realized that in the real life that there's not as many rules as you think. Like in school, you feel like I think that it feels like a little bit like a container that you're in, and there's these things that you have to follow in terms of processes to get a certain grade. And if you don't do all the steps, then you don't get the right grade. Whereas in business there's no rules really to follow. You can kind of jump to the end if you want. You can take the steps in between. You can ask for help. You can pay someone to do this, and all of a sudden it's done. There's so many different ways to do things, I feel. And so in the beginning I was like, oh, I need to do everything myself. So I'm learning all sorts of different things, but then I'm getting burnt out and I'm getting tired and I'm not able to do all of the things. And then you realize, okay, maybe focus on the things that work best for you and then try to outsource the rest. And so it's a lot of like, I guess, um, trial and error that I wasn't that wasn't really taught of in school. It was like, there are steps to this, and you just follow the steps, and you get the outcome, and you get the grade, and that's really not how it works.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's I guess that's the difference, the big difference that I noticed.
Yeah, 100%. I've noticed the same thing. I don't have a formal business background like you.
Okay.
But I always think that, especially when I was brand new in business and very, very naive, I thought, here's the end result that I want, more clients, and here's the step that I need to get there. Even
Hmm.
now I realize that's just a theory. And I want to test that theory. I want to run an experiment. I've said on this podcast, I feel like a bunch of times before, that at any given time I have 3 to 5 marketing experiments running. Most of the experiments
Okay.
fail. I experience success about 1 in 25, maybe 1 in 40. But when I experience the successes, I double down on those, I triple down, quadruple down, etc. And the successes help me pay for the failures so that I can experience more successes. Um,
Yeah.
and as I get better at it, that ratio becomes better and better. Like the first thing I ever did that actually worked was public speaking, and that was my 47th strategy. I tried 46 things before that, all documented in an Excel document that were failures, like got me zero.
Wow.
Yeah. So that
Wow.
was good success. Uh,
That's that's really interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And
Okay.
that was like in the first like 2, 3 years. There's been a lot more failures since then and a couple more successes since then. And that's what's fun about entrepreneurship because any single like success could be a massive success. For example, one of my strategies, just advertising, grew my business about 300%. It seems so simple, but there's a way to advertise. It's not just I exist. I find with a lot of brand advertising, it doesn't work for small business. That's good for big business.
Hmm.
But there's a different way to advertise, the way that I like to advertise for business growth, which is different than for branding.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I agree with you. Just trying out all the strategies, and then you realize, yeah, one really works, and then you go full in on that for
Yeah,
and
perfect.
then take it as far as you can.
And
Yeah.
what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
For me, so I mentioned a little bit earlier, our newest service is called the Energy Enhancement System,
Yeah.
and it's a type of frequency technology. This is probably the most exciting thing to me. Reason being is because it's accessible to absolutely everyone and beneficial to everyone. So everything that we offer here can be used by a lot of people, but there's sometimes a group, for example, if you're really claustrophobic, getting into a flow tank is going to be difficult. If you have mobility issues and you're in a wheelchair, it might be difficult to get into a flow tank. Whereas in the frequency force in the room that we've created with the energy enhancement system, you just need to be in the room in between the towers. The way that it works, this room is that there are 4 towers that give off certain frequencies, and they're laser calibrated and aligned to have the frequencies hit each other in the center of the room. When those frequencies collide, it creates something called a scalar wave. And this scalar wave is able to go into our bodies, into our cells, and charge up the electrical voltage of our cells. And so cells that are healthy are around like a 70 to 90 millivolt, and unhealthy cells are, or a cancer cell is at like 20 millivolts. And so when our body is operating at a lower than optimal cellular voltage, that's when we experience disease and ailments. And so basically, this machine is allowing your body to get back up to the proper voltage so the body can heal itself and be in a state of alignment. And so all you do is you go in the room, you take a nap, and you take a 2 hour nap usually as a starting point. And the more time you spend in the room, the better you start to feel and the better the things that start to change. And it's so simple, but it's also like it's such like a new technology that's also very complex. So it's kind of that's what I'm most interested in because I feel like this is a little bit of the future of how we're going to be able to take care of our health. A lot of people don't sometimes don't have the energy to get into start running or going to the gym, or maybe they're really low energy, they go into this room and all of a sudden their energy is up so that they can then do the things that they would continue to do. So it's really kind of like a bridge for us. Like a lot of our services here are good for people that are optimizing. This is to get them to a place of like homeostasis so then they can go and optimize afterwards.
Yeah. And by the way, for anybody watching or listening to this and all this talk about frequencies, millivolts, etc., is very abstract to you, go to Nadeem's website. It's floatvalley.ca.
Floatvalley.com.
Or floatvalley.com. Go to
Yeah.
Nadeem's website, go in the energy enhancement section, and you'll actually see a video of what it is. Because when it was first, when I first saw it explained in text, I'm like, I don't understand anything here. Then I still went to the website, I understood. I actually went to Float Valley to actually do it, and I'm like, okay, now I understand what this is all about.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm working on right now. Is really about the education in this area. It's such a new way of healing. And so, like when we started 7 years ago with the float tanks, there was just a ton of education that was required, and now everyone's really into floating, and it's become more of a mainstream thing. And I'm really hoping the same thing happens here, and I'm assuming that it will.
Yeah, here's how I actually explain floating to people who've never done it before, and the talk of it is so abstract. Nadeem, you ever watched The Simpsons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, remember that episode where Homer goes to a float tank? I'm like, when I say it that way, people are like, oh, I know what you're talking, I know exactly what it is.
It clicks something in their brain. I think that maybe they had remembered it like in the back of their mind, and then you bring
Yeah.
it forward. There's so many instances. I know there's that Stranger Things. There's that TV show. They brought it into like Big Bang Theory. There's definitely they're showing up in the mainstream media quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's getting out there.
Yeah, yeah. And so
But
hopefully we'll see that soon with this technology too.
absolutely. Now,
Yeah,
entrepreneurship is full of trials and tribulations. I mean, just yesterday a water pipe burst.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
what in Float Valley? What obstacles have you guys encountered or you specifically in your time as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you said, it's things that are unexpected coming up. We because the center and the machinery that we use is very specialized and it also gets used, by a lot of people, things start to break down. Like, for example, our float tanks, because of the high salt content in the water, it eats away at a lot of our equipment and basically eats away at the center and as a whole. And so we're constantly kind of like making sure that we can keep ahead of the maintenance and the damages because of the nature of the business. So that's been proven to be really interesting because I didn't expect to do as much handyman work as I still do, like 7 years in.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I still enjoy it. It's just being able to kind of adapt between going through being on a podcast and then going and doing a video shoot for marketing, or and then actually doing like accounting on my computer and crunching numbers. And it's just like being able to adapt mentally and also be present for everything that's going on at the same time while there are so many different things on the to-do list. That's definitely been an interesting part of the
Yeah,
business.
one of my other guests actually said the same thing. He's from Healthy To Do's, Dr. David Tam. He's a chiropractor.
Okay. Yeah.
2 years ago, he opened up the Healthy To Do's clinic in Unionville, and
Yes.
I asked him
I
the
know
same.
him.
What have been your obstacles as an entrepreneur? He says, my training is as a chiropractor, not as a handyman. But you have your own facility, you got to know how to repair a toilet, a faucet leak. You got to know how to do these things, and he doesn't. So you pull up a video on YouTube, how to repair it, and you go.
Absolutely. And then with artificial intelligence now, it really helps because you can just ask it any question and be like, it'll be there to kind of lead you along the way to figure out what to do in a situation where you may not know what to do.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
What have you found to be your most effective marketing strategies?
Hmm. So for us, social media has been probably the number one strategy. And Instagram specifically.
Mhm.
We found that we can we can really portray really well what we have to offer here. And because sometimes people have never heard of Float Tank before, we're able to do like these really cool videos where we're giving some education. We're showing the float tank itself. People are able to give their testimonials. There's a paid ads monetized area where you can actually put ads out to people that have never seen your stuff before, and it's all based on their demographics, and then all of that is then trackable, and we can see our return on investment really clearly. Whereas, for example, if I were to do like a newspaper ad, it's a little bit harder to track.
Yeah.
If people are coming in on a promo, there's just so many different ways in which potentially people may see and hear about you, and then you don't really know how to track it. There's ways you can try to, you can discount codes and there's techniques, but the easiest to track is social media. So that's what I find to be the
Oh yeah.
best. kind of gives us the best bang for our buck. And there's so many different strategies around it. Like if you make, comedic content, all of a sudden that can help bring people to view your page, but then everyone's needing the wellness. And so then they come to your page and then say, oh, maybe this is something I'm willing to try. So yeah, I found the social media to be the most effective, but also the most interesting because it just constantly is changing.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. The evolution is just so fast. What
Yeah,
you think you knew 3 months ago is different 3 months later.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and they have algorithms that change along with how they want you to consume the social media too. So
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
its own machine. Yeah.
How many of your clients have you found came through organic social media versus paid ads?
That's a good question. That's shifted quite a bit recently. So we've put a lot more focus on our content creation of our organic ads, and so that's shifted the tables. Before it was paid ads were bringing in a majority, like maybe like 70%, let's say, and now I would say that the organic ads are coming closer to that number and overtaking the paid ads, just purely because we brought on a marketing team that is really good with knowing the Instagram algorithms. And so if we create our own content and people don't, see it as an ad, it's kind of designed more to just educate or to make for something for entertainment purposes. That's what brings people in, and we found that to be a really effective strategy.
That's awesome. And you guys have an email newsletter, of course. Have you found that to be a good source of clients or not really?
You're talking about the sorry, newsletter?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think like over the years that we've kind of like built our email list, I find it to be a lot more useful now. People really like to like follow along with our journey. We don't try to spam too much, and we just put out the occasional promotion, and then education is kind of our main thing. And so the email marketing does work really well.
Yeah, yeah. I find to me, in my business, that's the biggest pillar that's bringing clients. So
Yeah.
everything I do is designed to funnel into my email newsletter. The ads that I buy, I don't buy ads for personal training. Buy ads for my email newsletter. Uh,
Mhm.
my website, there's about 550 articles on there. Most of the articles aren't here's go to our personal training page, but subscribe to our newsletter. My videos on YouTube, there's nearly 300 of them. The call to action is both. Here we can help you like directly if you're ready right now. But if you're not, here's a newsletter with lots of free content. If you can always unsubscribe, etc.
Mhm.
And one reason I really like email marketing is um, social media is great in terms of the reach, but what frustrates me, A, I'm a big technophobe. That's a me thing.
Okay.
But B, the fact that it changes so much, I don't like to have to bow down to a god to a social media god. Email marketing is the same as it's been since 1993.
Absolutely.
First came out. So and response rates are way higher. Like in organic social media, you're lucky if you're reaching 1% of your audience, maybe 2%. Email open rates, 20 to 35% are common. 20% is considered bad. In social media, 20% is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You're right on about that. I
yeah,
would, if I'm thinking of metrics wise too, like yeah, if our when you're looking at open rates and traffic, yeah, you're right on with that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to have a diversity of strategies, but also that's why I like talking to entrepreneurs
Yeah.
that use different strategies than me, because that's where I can learn the most. I learn
Mhm.
from talking to entrepreneurs outside of my industry.
That's it. I think that's a great idea. I think definitely trading information and seeing what works with everyone else, and then kind of testing that. That's the best way to test, right? Because then everyone's kind of working together to test all the different options.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
love that idea.
My
Yeah.
wife even has a mastermind where a bunch of different professionals on purpose come together to have dinner like once every 2 months, and we talk about what's working well, what's not working well, what have been the successes in the past, what are we struggling with right now, and it's a bunch of us. My wife has a tutoring company. I obviously have a personal training company. Somebody else might be a realtor, a chiropractor, an e-commerce company, a software company, and sometimes I get ideas from businesses completely unrelated to mine. My
Mhm.
marketing strategies, all four of them, which is email marketing, public speaking, door-to-door sales, believe it or not,
Okay.
and writing books are all from other personal training. So it's very interesting to me what other entrepreneurs are doing in completely unrelated industries, because you can get some bangers out of there.
Wow, really cool. And door-to-door sales, that's interesting. I didn't expect that one.
Door-to-door sales is ridiculously effective. Uh,
Really?
to give you some perspective, when I used to do a lot of public speaking before COVID, I would do about 45 to 50 speaking engagements per year. And I knew that if I got 200 subscribers to my email newsletter from public speaking, one of those will become a client. Um, Not a great ratio. Now, I knew that if I bought an ad to my target market, 1 in 75 would become a client. And it didn't take any of my time. It just took my money. which I'd rather spend my money than my time. Then I also knew that if I got like if a related but not competitive professional like a dietitian or an naturopathic doctor was going to send my lead magnet, my I guess contact, my promotion to their customer base, 30 of them, I needed 30 subscribers from their list to become to get one client. Door to door, I need 10 subscribers for one client.
Oh,
Um, and to get 10 subscribers, I need to spend about 3 hours knocking on doors. The time investment, the ROI on that time investment is ridiculous because a client will stay with me, with either me or one of my team members for a very long time. So if I spend 3 hours knocking on doors to get one client, there's nothing in my business that has that kind of ROI, either on
wow,
time or on money.
that's incredible. And this is for personal training.
Yep. Well, so when I do door to door, I don't advertise personal training. I state
Okay.
trainer, but I don't. But my pitch is not, please come train with us. My pitch is, do you want my email newsletter?
Uh, okay. And people are like, what's your email newsletter?
Yeah, and I explain to them.
Yeah.
Usually I knock on doors in pretty affluent neighborhoods for people who are
Okay.
over 50. And so I explain my newsletter is about exercise and nutrition for people over 50. And usually I have a conversation with them before I pitch the newsletter to find out what are their goals. If they say my goal is to reverse diabetes, then I say my newsletter is about diabetes reversal, which it is. Not completely, but I have newsletters about diabetes reversal. If they say I want to reverse osteoporosis, then I'll say we have a lot of content about osteoporosis. It's not exclusively about osteoporosis, but there are newsletters in there about osteoporosis. If it's something that I think
Mm-hmm.
that is relevant to them, I'll say it. If it's something that I don't think is really relevant to them, I'll say it's probably not for you. Because I do want engaged subscribers. I don't want people unsubscribing and clicking on spam. Um,
So,
so my pitch is never personal training because that's a very, very high commitment. My pitch is newsletter. After they've been getting my newsletter for a few weeks, months, years, sometimes a decade, then they'll be like, okay, maybe I should give it a shot.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good idea. I love that. Love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
Nobody does because
Yeah.
when you think door-to-door sales, you think Jehovah's Witnesses, politicians, and realtors, not personal trainers. And
Yeah.
that's why it works so well for me.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, you kind of get the market to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do in your free time?
Honestly, I do things to help conserve energy and just so that I can be ready to continue working. As of late, I've just like been so excited and about working. Of course, I have been throughout the 7 years, but I also just of lately really want to just continue to build. And so in my free time, I just do more practices that kind of help conserve energy. So for me, that's meditation, that's being in a float tank, that's going for a massage, it's being in nature. Sleeping extra, that kind of stuff. I usually do that. Spending time with friends and family. That's the stuff that keeps me, I guess, recharged and then ready to get back to work. And that's where I have the most fun. And so, yeah, free
Yeah, yeah.
time
I've
always
had
interesting.
just for viewers and listeners, I once went for a massage at Float Valley. It is unlike anything you've ever done. I'm not getting paid to say this, but what's unique about it, you're in a room and just the way the lighting is, you feel like you're getting a massage during Aurora Borealis, during the Northern Lights. It's an experience like no other. Like I've had great massage therapists before, and the one at Float Valley is great as well. But what really stood out to me was just like the ambiance, the environment. And I'm a very like uncreative person. I don't notice these things. I can walk into an empty room and you can ask me, what would make that room better? I'm like, no, nothing, it's fine. Do you think there should be pictures, furniture? I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's good. So I'm not a person who notices these things, but like I really noticed the environment where I was getting the massage in Float Valley. Um,
Good, I'm good.
yeah, it's fantastic. And since this is, after all, a Best of Markham podcast, what's your favorite business in Markham besides your own?
Oh, that's a great question. I really like Go Place. Have you heard of Go Place?
Yeah, I've been to Go Place a couple years ago.
You get to Go Place. Yeah, I like going there. It's like my kind of like Float Valley away from Float Valley in a
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
exactly.
Right. Sometimes relaxing in your own space is a little bit tough. And
Yeah.
so going to Go Place is cool. And they also have the option to like stay overnight. And so you can just kind of hang out there and there's food and whatever. And then you can stay late and stay with friends. And then there's a sleeping room and then you come back.
Wow.
So it's
I went
yeah, that's
there.
another place that I like to hang out.
The first time I went to Go Place was actually in 2022 at the time that you couldn't stay overnight. I guess
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
they've upgraded their options, looks like.
Yeah, yeah, they took over an old theater, the theater I
Yeah.
used to kind of grow up and go to. And one of the theater rooms is just a massive sleeping room, and so they have these really large beds and blankets, and it's quiet, and you can put in earplugs, and you just everyone's sleeping in one massive big room.
Yeah, yeah. Go Place is amazing.
Yeah,
The ambiance, the atmosphere, the amount of attention they put into tiny little details is just incredible. And you
absolutely.
can be very focused in there. They have a computer room. You can do your work if you want, or you can just hang
Yeah.
out in rooms at different temperatures. You can go in a 4-degree room. You can go into a 35-degree room.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of being able to kind of co-work while doing these practices because I find that, taking the breaks in between work is really effective. If you can just hop into a sauna for 20 minutes or take a shower or go into a hot tub or whatever, it kind of just clears your mind, allows you to get back to it at a different pace. And also sometimes you get some really good creative spurts when you're in flow like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I love the concept of being able to go back and forth so easily.
yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty close to you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just down the street. Yeah.
exactly. And lastly, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me personally through my Instagram. My Instagram is Biohack Nadeem, or you can go through our Float Valley Instagram. Frequency Forest also has its own Instagram, and then we have our websites www.floatvalley.com and frequencyforest.ca.
That's perfect. And all these links and Instagram handles will be in the show notes as well. Nadeem, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Gary. It was great chatting with you.
My pleasure.